two phenomenal leaders, one from Arkansas and one from Alabama. I always get both of them mixed up because we got two A's in the house. You can't go higher than an A. Mr. T. West and Tammy Taylor. Thank you so much for being here. So we're going to talk about African Descendants of Slaves Changes Conference. And we have phenomenal leaders, one from Arkansas and one from Alabama. I always get both of them mixed up because we got two A's in the house. You can't go higher than an A. Mr. T. West and Tammy Taylor. Thank you so much for being here via award judgment. So we're going to talk about African Descendants of Slaves. And as you know, is it a fad? Is it a myth? Is it a trend? It privatized prisons and other forms of government. And African Descendants of Slaves dates back to 1619. They were the first Africans that came here, illegal immigration, that era of people identifying themselves. And as you know, in self-identity, this commodity trade is a lack of clarity about exporters and other forms of government. And there is people that today called the AGOS. It's an era of leaders of immigration, illegal immigration, an era of people identifying themselves. Because she has a self-identity. There is a lack of clarity about what is going on. And there is a group of people that are slaves called the AGOS. She has that role where she's teaching and talking about it. But there are people now trying to call her and shout out to her because she has a consistent showing that it's not but everyday perspective about what's going on in the African descendants of slaves and how she has that role where she's teaching and talking about it. But there are people trying to call the myth of a fad. And we believe that it's not, but I want to hear your perspective of today. That raised the ring. So I think that we need to address the myth, the issue of the new world, the trending of it, because the hashtag is a trend. And AUS politics, AUS is mega, which is making America great again. Everyone has their take on AUS. The leaders of AUS, of the new world, I'm trying to tell it because the hashtag is a trend. And I just want to know AUS politics, AUS is mega, great like great again.
Wonderful. Here,
Everyone has their take on AUS.
I guess the beach is out of the question tonight.
I'm starting to tell you.
So, my take on AUS, African American Descendants of Slaves, I personally don't think it's a fad. I believe we're in a time now today where our people are starting to recognize African American Descendants of Slaves. I personally don't think it's a fad. I believe my ancestral line. We're in a time now today where our people better understand that starting to recognize ancestral line that we researched out. My family have researched on not knowing dating my ancestral as far as the 1800s on ancestry.com. And so better understand that. I personally used to say that I never researched my family had researched my lineage and who my ancestors were as far as the 1800s on ancestry.com. People are starting to truly understand. I personally used to say I never knew in the life. One, we can never forget who we were and who my ancestors were. But now our people are starting to truly understand economic empowerment. So in order to even generation one was never forget in our birth and on now. And we have to really take a move forward and deep step back in terms of economic ancestors came. And so looking at the AUS, my husband and I started this on now. We have to really take a bring it into the platform. Deep step back. To me, I thought which we came. I guess they were bringing it to the platform. So looking at the AUS, I started listening to it the way Democrats were bringing it to the platform. I looked at it. To me, I thought, okay, they're having the discussion, they were bringing it to the platform. I really wanted to turn that conversation around away from him, but still make it. I looked at it and we were talking about how our ancestors were here. I really wanted to turn that conversation around away from him, but still that Congress recognizes it about how our ancestors were here 400 years ago. We are here right now in Virginia commemorating that. Congress recognizes it, built this nation before, built the nation. Your ancestors were brought here in shackles. Even the beautiful White House, the White House was even built this nation off the backs of our ancestors. And so I look at it as an honor for White House, even though the White House was even built blood, sweat, off the backs of our ancestors. And I look at it as an honor, even though it was done here in this nation by our ancestors. I look at it as a form of what our people, Africans in this nation brought here to America, to this country, which is Africans who were brought here to America, to this country, which is now known as America. So we're African Americans, you know, the ones that can trace their lineage back to basically
descendants of slaves, and they want to be from other countries, and they are saying that they also, based on descendants of slaves, and they want to be part of our organization or all their reasons, you say, based on
through Ancestry.com, which we also offer on UrbanGameChangers.com. Through Ancestry.com, which we also offer you can actually, UrbanGameChangers.com. If you look down on our page, you can actually, there's some game discounts right now for you to trace your ancestry. On Ancestry.com right now for you to trace your ancestry legacy tree. On Ancestry.com, you can put your information in there, legacy tree, DNA, and there's ways you can find out exactly how far your ancestry goes. There's ways you can find out exactly how far your ancestry goes back. From let's just talk about here as commodity now. From our ancestors, really, we come here as commodity now. Our ancestors really, right? Like ancestors wasn't even recognized as people, right? Our ancestors wasn't even recognized as situation now where the Constitution now where the Constitution where it talks about 14, 15, 16. So where it talks about the Emancipation Proclamation. So when Lincoln wrote the Emancipation Proclamation, told Lincoln that in his writings, you can't just sit in that. You can't just sit in that. They built this, you know, so they didn't have an option. You know, they didn't have an option. And so here we have it there. Now here we have it there. Now we're in this Constitution. Where in this Constitution, black people don't even understand. They say the Constitution wasn't written for us, but we're in it. And so here today, we have Democrat actually giving away, pimping our birthright away to illegal. I'm all for legal immigration, but then it's like they're using that same law, that same piece of paper that was written for our ancestors, that was written for our ancestors and for us, African American slaves. So we're squandering. What are we going to do? How to take it back? I want to take it back.
ADOS. Yes, Shirley, you're right. It's been circulating out there, first in social media for a very, very long time. Then, MSNBC, they decided to amplify it further by inviting on their program some of the founders of the term ADOS, you know, American Descendants of Slaves.
Did they have Yvette on the show?
Yes, inviting them onto the show. You had Antonio, and you have Yvette. So the talk about slavery. So when we talk about slavery and ADOS, with that, you have to talk about Africa. And I just got back off the trip to Ghana, the year of return. 400 years, Jamestown to Jamestown. There's a Jamestown right along that coast there in Ghana, in Accra. Right there, Cape Coast actually. Cape Coast area, it's right there, Jamestown. So here, the Europeans named the settlement here, Jamestown. And it was in 1619, as Shirley had indicated, when that Dutch ship arrived here. And the cargo were enslaved Africans. That was the cargo. And since that time, we have, in this country, as you mentioned, built so much here in this country. And you also mentioned about illegal aliens, how illegal aliens have been given so many of the rights that blacks fought and died for. Even when we talk about the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, in particular. The 14th Amendment, when we talk about that, and we talk about anchor babies, the 14th Amendment prior to the Immigration Naturalization Law in 1965, there was none of that. You could not come here as an illegal child being born of an illegal alien in the United States and become, just because you were born here, a citizen. The 14th Amendment did not apply at all to immigrants or illegal aliens. You don't find those words in there. You do find the words slavery and those born of parents who were enslaved. So those children, if they were born as children, then they would be slaves. So black folk, okay, that's what it was about. But you had the ACLU lawyers and Supreme Court Justice Ginsburg, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she is formerly an ACLU lawyer. They pushed and promoted that. Judges pushed and promoted that lie, but it's a lie. And so therefore now you see, and you've seen in the news over the last week, how the Trump administration, Trump's talking about doing away with that. About an executive order. And already they're talking about, we will sue you. Okay, we will sue you if you do this. So this is something that's happening right now. So when we talk about ADOS, and Shirley, you brought up division. I don't know if I should go there right now about the division with that. But yes, you have division. And you saw lots of that out there in social media after the Black Panther movie came out. Because in the Black Panther movie, you had African-American actors in there, you had African immigrant actors in there.
There are a lot of different African descendants of different diasporas around the world.
Yes, they were in that movie.
People think they all were Americans. They were not. I think the only key American was the guy who played Black Panther.
Well, my sister, this one is African. Yeah, African.
No, he's American.
Yeah.
The main actor was American.
Yeah, and you had
and the guy like Killmonger.
And you had Killmonger, okay? And then you had my sister too.
Right.
She was the mother.
Right.
Okay, and you had what's his name also?
And Angela Bassett.
Yeah, Angela Bassett. And then you had Forrest Whitaker.
Right.
Okay, so you had lots of African Americans represented in there. But here was the division. In social media, there was all this talk about Killmonger was our hero.
Yeah, Michael B. Jordan.
Yes, he was our hero. And I'm like, why was he your hero? I said, no, of course this is fictional. But
you need to clarify that because some people don't think it's real.
yeah, it was fictional, but this what we're talking about is real as far as the emotions that went into this. The energy that went into it. The energy that went into it. Killmonger was our hero. Well, I'm like, wait a minute. Killmonger killed his own girlfriend.
He did.
Okay? He killed his own girlfriend.
Expendable.
Yeah, she was expendable. That's right. And then when he became the Black Panther, and notice that the real Black Panther, that he played by the rules. No, you notice that? He played by the rules that set up by the tribe. He detoxed himself of that vibranium that gave the Black Panther his power.
Right.
He detoxed himself. He was following the rules. Okay? Not like some of these little gangbangers out here in the streets going around here and
I don't want to cut you off because we have so much time. I want you to bring it to
right to the point.
ADOS.
Yes, right to the point.
Because we all saw the movies, so get to the chase.
So right here, I'm going to cut right to the chase here. So what we had here, it says, this guy is our hero. I mean, how can he be a hero when he murdered his own girlfriend, and then he don't play by the rules, he wants to do away with the vibranium after he becomes Black Panther, he wants to do away with it. Now, how is that different from your traditional enemy? That is no different. So that's my point. It was bringing about division between the groups and everything, because that actor was African American. He's our hero.
So I agree with you. We have several divisions going on. We have divisions between African American descendants of slaves, Africans, immigrant Africans, and then the federal government, and let's say media, political media on Democrats, Republicans, MSNBC, Fox News, really not having a clarity of it because they can't control the narrative. And it's always about someone else trying to control our narrative. That's what it comes down to, even with the movies. How do we control the narrative? Because who's to say the next Black Panther isn't a liberal progressive move because that narrative was driven that we want the woman to shine more, where it did have much more of a balance of African women and their roles with their man and honoring their man. But in saying all that, African American descendants of slaves came about, I believe, because of all these other cultures telling you their history, telling you their story, telling you their family. And when it came to us, a lot of generation, especially, some of our generation, and you guys tell me, they can only go back maybe 1 or 2 generations.
That's true.
What's your take, Tam?
As I stated before, we grew up not knowing who our ancestors were, because when you look at the records of the slaves were kept, the documents that we look up in the library and the archives, they were all labeled as commodity, as if they were herds of sheep. I mean, it's laughable now, but it's not a laughable matter when you really look at it in the terms of your ancestors. And I believe now is the time where our people are starting to recognize who we truly are. We have to start even having a conversation, a real conversation, not a pandering situation, but the conversation in which, how do we take it back? How do we take it back and allow even our president? I love our president. I love what he's doing. I love the fact that what he's calling right now to put an end to this illegal immigration, I know he sees it the way we see it. But I believe we could take it a step further in the sense of preserving our ancestral line, literally preserving the lineage. I mean, we done killed so many of our seed through abortion, but this is the time now we can preserve.
Is ADOS a fad, a trend? What is it? What is ADOS going to become?
I believe.
But what will it evolve into in your mind?
What I believe it will evolve into our minds is if our people really sit back and look at their lineage, see how far it goes back, our people will develop a sense of dignity again, integrity again, the way our great-great-grandmothers saw it. The way they were raised up. They heard the stories of their ancestors. And so I believe that it will rise up the next generation, like my children and their children's children, to really take heed to who we truly are and value that, and continue to add to this American history.
I love the fact that you said also earlier, not to cut you off, but Ancestry.com and lineage, a legacy tree. We don't get any money from that, but I will tell you, if you don't have a lot of money to do this, you just basically every day you can pay $19, that's less than $1 a month, to just like play like a puzzle. And they give you a little leaf. You put your parents' name and your name and their birth date and the year they were born. All that goes into that data. And every day there's a little leaf that you add on and you get 2 lines of your parents. One of who you are and one of your father and one of your mother. And then if you want to learn more, go to Know Your Roots or Find Your Roots. Dr. Henry Louis Gates, it's just brilliant. He really has a clarity of understanding who we are as African Americans, or as a human being, as Americans, because he's done roots, he's done genealogies through different actors who were shocked that they had ADOS in their lineage. We do have white people who have ADOS. And so ADOS is not a black thing. It's not a dark diaspora thing. It's a lineage based on lineage. It is in conjunction and similar to the Daughters of the Revolution. The Daughters of the Revolution go back to the Revolutionary War, and they have some connection. One of their fathers, and they have the proof of it, served in the Revolutionary War. Not the World War I or II, but the Revolutionary War. Well, my thing is we can go back to the Emancipation. We can go back to 1619. Excuse me, some of us can go back further than that, to 1619. seems like I might not people be able to go to the 1700s, but I think if we went back to 1865, as long as you can clarify that you're before the emancipation, you are definitely brought here as some form of slaves. Even if you are a free slave, you are a descendant of the slave. It doesn't mean that you have to be a descendant of the captive slave. So with having that piece of legislation of your life, that piece of goods, meaning that you have your descendant roots of lineage documented on paper, that makes you feel, for me, I'll tell you how it made me feel. It made me understand who I was. It was my puzzles, going through the Census Bureau, understanding they had black and white and mulatto, and like knowing that my grandmother was half white, but they had her for mulatto, and then later on she did turn to become black. You hear the stories of other people, but you don't know that it's already there for you. Legacy Tree, what they do is they create a book for you. And it's not cheap. Those books can run you $1,500 to $200. Ancestry.com, on the other hand, you do the book yourself, and it'll run you $19 a month. So it will cost you some money to do this, but if you're willing to pay for hair, shoes, and clothes, and a nice car, you need to have this lineage book that you can pass down to your children. Now, T. West, in 2000, J.C. Watts and 2 other congressional leaders voted to store the data of the Freedmen Bureau data, the bank people, the people who put into the Freedmen Bureau Bank. Those bankers, those people that participated, that data is accessible today in the National Archives. And so the interesting part is when I hear people like Laura Ingraham and all these other pundits and commentators who are activists, they're pundits and commentators, and they get paid very well for that. They aren't even willing to have us on there to talk about the fact that we can show them that we have access to that, and that those things were preserved and allocated. Actually, that was under President Clinton, where he allowed, I think they gave $3 to $5 million for 5 years to put that database and store that into the National Archives. If you go to Ancestry.com right now, and you go to a more of a thorough search, you will be pushed to that archive or the military records.
That's true.
Knowing who our grandparents were and who they served in the military,
Yes.
if it's
Mine served in World War II.
yeah, World War II, World War I, or the Civil War. I mean, the data is there, but for some reason, our existence of who we are and us talking about it is not, and that's the really crazy part of it.
Well, I think that, I know, in fact, that the information is there. Because as chattel, enslaved black people in this country were used and counted as chattel. And chattel, when you start talking about chattel, what is that? Chattel is something that you own. It's your stuff, your junk, you know, your cows, your cars, your house. All that is chattel. So African people were chattel. They were counted among the horses and the cattle. And there were tax based breaks, etc., that related to that. So if they knew that they could get a tax break as plantation owners, they were going to make sure that they kept their books. So they kept their books, just like they kept the books on the animals, the amount of acres that they own, etc. It is there. It is there. It's just a matter of going and getting it. And since we're talking about reparations also, okay, you would have to be able to show that sort of information to prove who you are. Now that's where you come up with the term ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery, here in this country. Because we know that when you come from Haiti, you're black, there was slavery there too. You coming from Cuba, you're black, slavery there also. Dominican Republic, same thing. Brazil, Peru, you name it, Mexico even. You were black, there was slavery at one time. But we're talking about something that is distinctive for African Americans here. Those who came to know why African Americans? Well, it's easy answer. It's because you are a U.S. citizen. And we're talking about the United States of America.
Absolutely.
We're not talking about Ghana. We're not talking about the Ashanti Empire over 400 years ago. We're not talking about that.
No.
They don't owe us anything because we're not citizens of those countries.
That's correct.
We're citizens of the United States of America.
Yes.
Because I know some of you out there right now, you're talking about, well, what about the Africans? They should pay us too. Oh, no, we're citizens of this country. Okay, so we'll deal with it right here. Now, so with ADOS, when you look at, even with the what was called affirmative action, where you had, in some organizations, especially some government organizations, you had quotas that you had to fill. You had to have, you could have all white people sitting up in the company if you were getting federal or state dollars. You had to have a certain number of African Americans in there. Now, we know that second, third generation black immigrants, regardless of wherever they come from, that they become pretty much African Americans. They have all your demeanor, everything. They're looking just like you, talking just like you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so, but affirmative action. So when we start talking about affirmative action, and initially and originally affirmative action.
Mr. Chubas, can you lift your microphone up closer so I can hear you?
Initially, this big deep voice of mine, you can't hear me. Okay, all right.
I want the people to hear you.
Oh, the people. Okay, all right.
People.
So what we have with African Americans, you have quotas that you have to fill with some of these jobs. So if you have people coming in from other countries, and just because they're black, and if you can't identify where they came from, and if it was about affirmative action and it was about correcting the wrongs of slavery, then that would be a problem.
Right.
But it ain't a problem.
Right.
And now you say, why is it not a problem? It's not a problem because affirmative action was sabotaged a long time ago because you included who? What group? White females. White females came into the whole affirmative action piece right there.
But let me say this too. I want to get a point now to where we live in a society where everyone says they're a minority. That's another reason why ADOS came about. Because everybody's a minority. A white woman's a minority. A gay's a minority. Illegal's a minority. Mexican, Italian, Indian. The Indians are riding off of using our history to spin their narratives into the stories. It's all sabotage.
Yes.
You know, this is what TUS is talking about. He is talking about the sabotage that is going on with our communities, and that word minority also equates to money.
Right.
Because if we think about the federal government and their governmental grants and their programs, they'll say this money is allocated towards minorities. Well, it really meant African Americans, but it doesn't equate to that anymore because minority doesn't mean African American anymore. It means all these other people. And the interesting part is the Latino community, who are immigrants and illegals, have selective choice of if they want to be a minority or not. They're a minority when they want grant and state funding, but they're the majority when it comes to this country in America, especially within California. So, you know, we're giving the baby and the bathwater away in this country. And so because of that, there is a serious, distinct, established movement of the African American descendants of slaves, the ADOS. And I don't believe it's going away. I think it will be very distinctive and clear. We had a gentleman on the other day who was African descent, and his concern was that that line is being created won't create animosity. But I don't think that you can't help but have animosity when there's people who are saying, well, wait a minute, but what about us? What's your take, Tanner?
Well, I like that we have Mr. Ani here.
Yes.
His panel is pretty amazing. He's a millionaire, has a company, runs many different companies, and he was intrigued with the whole ADOS movement and really liked the fact that we were having the discussion where he even admitted as well that as coming here as an African from actually Africa, that he did have some sort of leverage when he came here and was able to become successful in America. But then the question was addressed, well, how does that affect African Americans as well, where the Africans who do come here able to prosper, and in a sense, nothing should be holding us back. It's just a sense of how do we acknowledge it. He was very happy as an African coming from Africa to know that African Americans were now having the discussion because it's very prevalent.
And it seemed like he was very sincere and wanted to help us, but I think we've all encountered one or two of those other Africans who will basically say, no, I'm not from your country. I'm not African American. I'm not like them. the descent, saying, I'm not African American, and they're quick to put the energy up in their body language is changing, their hands are waving, and I just look, like I'm not one of them. Well, what does one of them mean? So if they're going to say they're not one of them, then let those of us who are one of them own who we are. But even as we own that energy, and we speak in that space, there are still those people who aren't happy about that.
And you're always going to have some people, those people, some who are not going to be happy about that. That's a fact of life. So, but in spite of that, what you have, I'll give you an example. When I go to Ghana, if I go to Ethiopia, when I go to South Africa, you're going to have somebody, there's somebody there who don't like the fact that you're there. Okay? All right. But most of the people, they like the fact that, hey, you're here. You're one of us. All right? They like that. Now, when it comes down to competition on certain things, when we start talking about jobs, when we start talking about contracts, we start talking about business, then there can sometimes be another element that comes into play right there. Because that's competition. You competing for a certain resource.
It's the same thing I mentioned with the grants and deeds that are out there.
Exactly.
And loans for minorities that are out there. We're not getting them, and they bum rush the front of the line and do their little magic, and then all of a sudden they're ahead of us. And look where we are today.
And that's the reason why some of them, and the ones who are not like this, but I know some of them are like this, that's why they have to be and show more appreciation, because they know that, most of them do, that when they came here, that they were coming through a pathway that was already cleared
For them. Yes, yes.
They know and they understand that, okay? And if they don't know and understand that, then it is up to each one of us to kindly, not in an animosity, over-emotionalized way,
Absolutely.
educate them on
Right.
what it took for them to get to where they are. Because before, regardless of where you came from, even though you may speak with the accent, and you might not sound like a typical African American, but if you were black, you were still a no-no.
Yes.
Okay? So that path was clear, and we have giants, men and women, black men and women, and others, to thank for clearing that pathway for not only African Americans, but for African immigrants, other black immigrants, regardless of where they
Even
come from.
non-Africans, even if you talk about the Asians,
Oh, yeah.
the Chinese, and the Latinos, they were blessed to be able to enter this country with the infrastructure of opportunities because of the African-American descendants of slaves. We've got 10 more minutes, and I wanted to at least cover one more part. Right now that we're in Virginia, a very historical site, our land, our motherland, right, Virginia, in the United States of America, Jamestown, as you mentioned earlier, we still have the issues of what we're finding, what we're even noting is that some people are rewriting history right now.
Yes.
We've found monuments, we've found statues, we've found things that are being either removed or verbiage that's being changed. And one of the discussions that we've had here, personally here at Urban Game Changers Conference, is we want you all to do your homework. We want you to find the earliest edition of whatever book that you need to have in your possession, any piece of legislation, not just for your benefit, but for the rest of us. And then we want you to notify us that you have that piece of legislation. Even things with the Black Panthers or anything, because there's a lot of history being rewritten right now. I was watching another one, Gentleman Calloway on YouTube. He was showing where monuments that were normally statues with just the history of Black history, it all of a sudden got changed in 2015. Who was president? President Obama. President Obama did not support the Black community. President Obama's agenda was to manipulate the value of the ADOS to be in alignment or verbiage to be in conjunction with illegal immigrants and immigration, so that it looked like the stance and the verbiage that was written was to be this inclusive, kind of inclusive situation, when it was not meant for inclusiveness. It was very clarified. It was for African American descendants of slaves. So we have to be awoke by people.
tone. It's not, the ADOS will not go away. I know that for a fact. Because the moment the people start understanding who we truly are, the moment we start understanding our ancestral line, we will never forget. We will never forget who we are, and we'll have a definite, clear meaning of where we're going. Which I urge President Trump, like I stated, I love my president, I love this nation, but I urge President Trump to really get on board and to truly understand that when Congress commemorated 400 years, and while we're here this week, this entire week, there was no funding attached to it. I don't think that that's going anywhere. But we have the Pacific Islanders, when they were actually given, in the term of reparations, which I like the term economic empowerment, it was given to them.
Yes.
We have the Indians, which, these are all our friends, we love them, we're not trying to exclude anyone, but we need to make it very clear exactly our ancestral line, our, moving forward with this culture, put it in stone, let's make it known, because like you said, even the monuments that are being taken down, the reason why they're taking down monuments, so no one knows exactly who we are,
right.
who the history, because even back in different other states other than Virginia, you have the Confederate soldiers, Confederate war heroes. I look at them as war heroes because it was a time in the Civil War where they were fighting for control to make sure the government never came in and take control of the South, basically the South.
But the verbiage of what is being altered is to be curtailed in more of a inclusive, and as if the history of the past always meant for every nation to be able to benefit and reap on the foundation of our Constitution, and that's not the case.
Right. So, like you said, old books. Talk to your elders and your families.
Yes.
Get the story. Listen to your elders. Get with the oldest elder. We still have women who's still 100 years old who still remember stories. Get the story so that we understand how far it goes back. Because yes, they are changing history to exclude the story. And so I think that's really important that we actually do the research and not just depend on Google either, because they change it on Google too.
Oh my God, don't think that everything you look for research is Googleable. I mean, it is what it is. It's based on someone else's word, because whatever's online becomes law in some people's mind. You need to look it up. Go to old libraries. Go to, like Tammy said, some of your ancestors, some of the stuff in your father's or grandmother's attics and closets, some of those historical black books. Sometimes they'll reference a law and you'll go, I don't remember that law. You reading that old story reverts to that law. Like when we talk about 40 acres in the mule, that never was a law. That was a special order by General Sherman. It was a special order that him and President Lincoln, before he died, put together. That was part of the Freedmen Bureau, like the FBI Bureau. And the Freedmen Bureau had to do it with the Reconstruction, which would be like FEMA today. So you guys understand what FEMA's like when they have tragedy, FEMA comes in? Well, that was what the Freedmen Bureau was supposed to be like. Because the Freedmen Bureau also helped the Indians. They were freed Indians, even because they were freed men. But the Indians were smart. They were able to retain sovereignty. They became a sovereign nation of people. And me and T. West talked about that. We talked about we as a people need to be a sovereign nation. And so today, what we've gathered this weekend is that we're coming together to have these conversations. But trust me, in a couple of months later on in the future, you're going to start seeing us come up with legislation of our proposals.
Yes.
We've got 2 minutes, and I'm going to give each one of you guys a chance to close. These are amazing executive directors, Arkansas and Alabama. And I will tell you, if you want to get involved with Urban Game Changers, go to urbangamechangers.com, sign up, and just join our group. Because as you join our group, put what state you're in. And we're not perfect. We may not get right back with you right away, but I'm telling you, we will definitely have a conversation with you. You can reach Tammy Taylor on Facebook. You can go to Urban Game Changers Alabama on Facebook. And the T West Afro Synergy News, as well as Urban Game Changers Arkansas. And He's very connected. He travels around the world, as you can see. I'm going to give you guys each 1 minute to take those last 2 minutes and I'll say goodbye.
Okay, well, very quickly, thank you, Shirley. ADOS. With ADOS, one of the biggest push, if not, and it should be, it's the biggest push, is reparations, the call for reparations. Because you cannot continue to play the game that you've been playing, because all of that, you set yourself up for sabotage. Some talk about monies for HBCUs, money for this, money for that, investment zones, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. None of that is new. None of it. The only thing that's new, and that would be new when it happens, is reparations. That's the only thing that's new, because once you get your money, you can do things with it because it's your money.
And people are getting reparations right now.
Yeah, let's make that very clear, because many people don't understand that when we say reparations, when African Americans say reparations, we're talking about even other nations, nationalities who are already receiving reparations only to preserve the culture of their ancestral line. And the government is recognizing that for other nationalities. I mean, it's law, like we just mentioned here, the Pacific Islanders and the Indians. So when the 400 commemoration was agreed with Congress, no funding came with that. That's a huge issue. Like, why no funding came with this 400-year commemoration? I believe right now is the time.
And why would you have President Trump sign a commemoration with no money allocated towards the nation of people to try to remember their own history? It makes no sense.
And we're here. We're all Americans, right? We're all Americans. Our ancestors built this country off the backs of the blood, sweat, and tear, of the backs. I mean, they died building this nation, coming here to this country on slave ships. I mean, we are the epicenter of what America breathes. I mean, we need to start recognizing it, and with some funding coming behind it to preserve our lineage, I think it's only fair.
And the fact that you didn't get the money, we didn't get the money for the commemoration piece right there, that is just simply more grounds for the demand that you get reparations. As I said earlier in an earlier program, when that mass killing happened in El Paso, the Hispanic support of Trump took a nosedive. And if it keeps diving and keeps dropping, Trump will have to come to the African Americans. And when he comes and says, African Americans, what do you have to lose? We're going to say, Mr. Trump, we have something to win with. Here's our proposal. This is what we demand. And when Trump says, okay, reparations is what you want, then it will be the equivalent of what Lyndon B. Johnson did in 1964 when he signed that civil rights bill with Martin Luther King Jr. And African Americans, and what did Lyndon B. Johnson say? I will have these, N-words, voting Democrat for the next 50 or 100 years, okay? That's what he said. So we have to be the leaders and the voice that go out there and say and demand, this is what we want, Mr. President. It is only right that we get this. We don't want anything else watered down.
But it's tried research. We do have research to back it up. We have our ancestry line that dates back to 1800, especially if you are ADOS. Use the Ancestry.com site on Ancestry.com link and Legacy Tree on our site to really trace back your lineage. But we come with basic research that our ancestors built this nation.
Boots on the ground. You can watch us online, and you can watch us on TV or cell phone, wherever you're watching us. But when it comes down to it, it's about getting from behind the camera, getting from behind your phone, and being proactive for your life, for your generation, for your lineage. To do something nice for your grandparent or your great aunt or uncle or aunt or cousin. But whatever it is, it's about bringing your family to the table. It is not about us. It is about you identifying who you are. If you're not ADOS, at least you should know who your origin is as well. You're watching 2, 3 amazing people that are bringing value to this country and to this table. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you follow UrbanGameChangers.com. Our website will be changed back after the agenda. Tomorrow we will be in Monroe, Virginia, Fort Monroe, Virginia. We have 3 amazing booths. We're going to be doing a battle round for those who are bold enough to come out and put up with us. And grab a mic and tell us what you think about what you're seeing us on the panel these last couple of days. I want to thank T. West and Tammy Taylor. God bless you. The next panel is coming up soon. Thank you guys so much for watching online.
Thank you.
You say hi, huh? Hey family, thank you so much. Thank you guys for sharing and watching, and I know that we've got a lot of good stuff we're doing out there, and we're so grateful that you are
Here with us.
here with us. Here with us. So keep sharing, watching, and we've got a couple more panels, and we'll be out in Virginia Beach tomorrow.
In Hampton.
In Hampton.
Hampton.
Your family's up next.
Oh, wonderful. Family. Kiddos ready. Honey, honey.
I'll be back.
Hey, where's your sister?
That rain ain't no joke. Start flying. I mean, I give you like, oh, this is good. I'm almost. Yeah. I think that was a good one.
All right, so that one went live on Facebook also.
Oh, good.
Yeah, streamed it live.
Good.
It went through okay.
Oh, good.
Went through good.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And then I'm going to do a close. That's it. We have 2 more. That's it. Well, I think this was a good conference, everyone. Thank you so much for your support.
Yeah.
After 10, we're going to do a close. We have a one-on-one. And we'll only do a close.
You have to get a group maybe too.
Yeah. I'm going to do all-star. That's left here. It's not a goodbye. Everybody have one more shot. Have Young Money come back. Young Money! What's up, boy? I see you got that little chocolate boy next to you. Give on family too. Oh, it's called Young Activists and Young Money next to each other. Young Money and Young Activists.
That is really close on it's a call to the people.
Yes, that's me. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, a call to the people.
Yeah.
You gotta do something.
Yeah, yeah, that's all.
You gotta do something.
This is it? All right. This is where we're going tomorrow. For those of us who are going, we're going to the first landing. We'll be able to see where the first slaves were.
I did the back. Do me a favor, think about some stuff. It's not red right now. It should be great. No, it's solid. No. It's great. Not even on. It's great now. Okay. That's great now. Might be working on it. Everything else great now.
Thank you, Goldie, for being on. I really appreciate that. We got 2 more panels coming up, you guys, and then we have awesome. And we have the AUS shirts for sale. They are $25 each. So if you want to
No, just back there.
we're live.
a song. They ask you what you correct. They say, what you gonna say? What you gonna say? You gotta hold it.
Oh, stop being weird. This is Black family here.
Black family.
Yeah. What all those lies they talking about? There is no black family.
Right.
Conservative black family. That's nothing good over here.
Yeah. Well, that's not a family though. That's hell of a skill.
We're starting, people. Let's start. Let's get it.
Start rolling.
Roll.
Wide up set. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Well, welcome back to the panel. I am
Try that again. So welcome back to the Urban Game Changers Conference panel. And I have my lovely, distinctive family here. Doug, you cut the music. You got music here.
4, 3, 2.
Well, welcome back to the Urban Game Changers Distinctive Family Panel. Today,
No, try it again. Urban Game Changers Conference.
gotcha.
Urban Game Changers Conference. I'm here today with my distinctive family.
Okay.
Breathe. Urban Game Changers Conference.
Gotcha.
And look at the camera, smile.
Yes.
You're beautiful.
3, 2.
Welcome back to the Urban Game Changers Conference panel. Today, I have with me my entire family, my distinctive family here on the panel, and we're just going to go at it and just have a discussion with you all about the Black family in America. And so I would first like to introduce to you to the head of the household, and he's the head. He's the head and I'm the neck. I make the head move. That's a little joke. My wonderful husband, Mr. Jerome Taylor.
In the middle.
Hello everybody out there. I'm Jerome, I'm from Alabama, this is my family, and hopefully we can share some good things with y'all today.
To my left, directly over to my left, is our wonderful daughter, Whitney Lorraine Taylor. Say hi to Jerome Roman Taylor, he's a junior. And the lovely, lovely Samantha Leanne Taylor.
Beautiful daughter.
So, my husband and I, we could just discuss what's important today as being a family, a whole family, a kingdom family, raising a kingdom family in this world. In a world where we're dealing with just so much depravity, so much ugliness, so much hate. But in the midst of all of this, let's talk about what's important. If you want to start, honey, what's important, the dynamic of how we keep our family afloat in a world full of mess.
Sure. For those who have lived and been around for a while, we know that today we live in a different time than it used to be. Things are changing, the world is changing, people are changing, ideals are changing, but we still can remain strong, remain functional in this time. And our family, we maintain and sustain through Christ. We are based our lives on the Word of God, and we live it, believe it, and it has been brought us such lovely kids, and it's a mindset that I believe that people have a choice. There are a lot of obstacles out there in the world. There's a lot of things out there that you could say hold us back, keep us back, but I believe you still have a choice and you can control your destiny. I believe that. And that's one thing we're teaching our children, that they are not less than anybody. They are not behind anybody. They can do whatever they set their vision to do, and Tammy and I will support that, and God will bless that. That's what we believe.
Thank you, Mr. Jerome D. Taylor. So, I would like to just go ahead and just tell you all what that looked like as a kingdom mom at home raising kingdom children. So when my husband and I met, it's going on a 10-year marriage, but we got married. We're in the 9th year, but our 10th year wedding anniversary comes up in December. And so when we met, I wasn't in church. I didn't know who I was in Christ. And we got married. I guess 3 months into our relationship, my husband told me that he had thoughts of making me his wife. And so I thought that was just a bit too soon because I didn't understand what that meant. Growing up in the family where I come from, there were no men in the household. So all the women, it was like this gender role change as I grew up, where all the women were the only ones working. There were no men in the house, no husbands. So I didn't understand how this husband-wife relationship worked. And so when my husband told me that he was courting me and considering making me his wife 3 months in, I questioned it. And I asked him, well, let's just stay together forever. And then if we're together at 50, then let's just get married. And he said, whoa, that's not how it works. So he showed me, the word where, he tells me how when the husband finds a wife, he finds a good thing. From that day forth, I was always told his good thing. Actually, in his phone, I'm labeled as his good thing. But I tell that story to let you know the dynamic of why it's important for marriage and family, because I didn't have any recollection of that. And so 6 months in the relationship, he did propose. 6 months later, we were married. So we're a year in, we have this marriage, I'm going to school, I'm working. I was interning at a law firm, and I would come home upset all the time. And he said, well, you don't have to work anymore, is what he told me. You don't have to work. You can just stay at home and raise our children. That was unheard of. And I said, well, I'll see what this is about. And so we had our first daughter together. I came in with 2 boys. And so we had our first daughter, Samantha, together. And so during the course while I was home with Samantha, Roman here, he was in public school, started kindergarten, and that's when I took a look at what Common Core was. So while we're raising up our family in the kingdom, Christian home, I realized that our number one assignment to the Lord was to raise our children up to love Him. And so with Common Core, it was clashing. Common Core was doing one thing in school, but then at home, we're teaching our kids something totally different. So I knew it was time, the Lord told me it was time for me, I was gonna homeschool. I didn't even know what that was. And so the Lord prepared me for homeschooling, and then we pulled Romine out of school in the middle of the school year. I had no clue what I was doing, but the Lord, He is good, and He helped me through that situation. So we're a year in homeschooling, and Samantha jumps right on board with homeschooling while I was homeschooling Romine. And that's where I basically understood the dynamic between raising up your children under the admonition of the Lord. And what I mean by raising them up under the admonition of the Lord is, the Lord told me that they do not belong to us, they belong to Him. It is our job to return them back to Him. And I took that assignment, that job assignment we take it very strictly.
Yes, we did. And one of the things that we want to pass on, since we had an opportunity, is that Black people, and especially the Blacks, it is very important to have a stable marriage to raise children. And a lot of people may disagree with that, but it is true. It starts with a happy, people who grow up in broken homes are scarred when they're grown. And there some of them are, when I say scarred, they can maybe financially successful coming from a broken home, but they still have issues. They may have trust issues. They may have depression. They may have low self-esteem, but it doesn't nurture them correctly without having the father and the mother together, raising and loving and teaching them. And so that's my take on having a healthy society. Is we have to go back to the core of finding a husband, finding a wife, and raising a family under the blessings of God. And also I'd like to add to that we have to find value in each other, and hate is not going to solve any problems, and people just thrive off of hate, especially Black people. We gotta hate something. We gotta hate white people, or we gotta hate each other. We gotta hate something, and it's not getting us anywhere. But we have to learn to value yourself and value the people around you and value each other. And we can see in our media, we can see it in the videos, we can see in society, in our neighborhoods. We just ride through our neighborhoods, we see people do not understand their worth, the value of themselves. And that's, if you don't value yourself, no one else is going to see value in you either. And so women have to value themselves, and that would alleviate a problem, because if the women didn't make it so easy for the men to be so sorry, it wouldn't work that way. And that's what I see. I see we have to have value, and Black women have to value themselves. Black men will respect them and see them as a valuable commodity, or not a commodity, but a soulmate, and they will treat them that way.
Thanks, honey. So let me just touch on what we do at home, a normal everyday living at our home. So while my children were home with me, I realized that compared to other children, when I used to take my children out, which I still do take them out often, and we get approached many times from others all the time about how well-mannered that our children are. To me, it's normal. I don't see it as something different, but the more people approach us about it, I'm wondering, well, who are they comparing our children to, right? So when you look in the world, you do see a lot of young men, a lot of young women, they're doing things that they're not allowed, the people not allowing their children to be children. And so when they see our children, I guess they're not used to seeing children behave like children. And so I wanted to, I want you really to touch on exactly what is it that we bring to this family together from the man's side that allow us to raise our children so to be so well-mannered. I mean, to me it's a natural thing. I guess it's just them being raised up under my bosom, you know, closer to us, watching us, honoring us by our actions, which that's how I see it. But from your standpoint, I'm still trying to figure out why do so many people approach us and say, hey, you know, I love your children.
Well, we're not perfect, by no means are perfect, but we're striving to do the best we can by our children, and we're living out a life. And our children, we're not creating a chaotic atmosphere for them. So we're selective about what they see, and there's no way a 14-year-old should be out 2:30 in the morning getting shot. They should be at home. And parents are just letting children raise themselves instead of raising the children and monitoring and also leading and guiding them in the ways that they should go. But the children now in our society are going and telling parents, you know, what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, and that's not how it should be. And our kids, you know, we tell them, we talk to them, they are there. We are present in their lives every day. We are present. We give them a voice in our house. They make a decision that they want to try something or they want to do something. We 100% support that. And so our children we're just giving them the full course of life, the best that we can. And it seemed to be working out for us.
Well, good. I'd like to also thank you for that, for being a dad to them as well as a sucker too. Because you know the girls are wrapped around. They have you wrapped around their fingers. Whatever they ask for, they get. But I just want to add in, as a mom being home with the children, I realize that they're able to understand our mannerisms, which is why they are so well mannered, and we're able to teach them things that normally in school, they're in school 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. I still wonder how a parent when their children are in school 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and the school has them more than the parent. So it's kind of difficult to really raise your children when someone else is actually raising them, you know. I would like to know if any of our children have anything they would like to say, or Ramon, would you like to address anything or talk about anything?
Again, I'm Ramon Taylor, and I'm 12, and I have my own business, and I'm a young entrepreneur, and having a business, it means a lot to me, that I get basically a lot of stuff, and so my parents won't have, I get a lot of money, so my parents won't have to be paying for whatever, because I already have the money to pay for it. And to all the young men out there, I'll just say, just to keep your head up and help y'all have a good day. That's it.
Whitney, would you like to add anything? No, Samantha? So yes, our 12-year-old do have his own business. He has a lawn care and landscaping business, which was given to him, actually. It was a riding lawnmower. Lady in our community, she is a widow, her husband passed, and she didn't have no one to take care of her yard. And he would basically take our push mower over to her house and do her entire yard, until one day she told him that it was a riding mower in the garage that was her husband's, and blessed him with this riding mower. So with the riding mower, he was able to acquire more business, more clients, and his business had developed to something great where he has a few clients. Yes, I drive him around, or my husband will drive him to his clients and work on their properties. And so what it does, it creates a sense of personal responsibility and a sense of, it gives him some sort of dignity, where I can see where he's willing to pay for his own things. He don't like handouts. Someone tried to offer him just $20, and I remember he told them, I would much rather work for my money, but thank you anyway. And I was just really shocked that he said something like that. And he's always willing to give. Our children are givers. He blesses many people. Our children, he even tithes. He tithes his own money at church on his own. He knows how to do that. And so it's just raising them at home. We want our kids to acquire the blessing that's set forth for them, and we just have to be the model and show them exactly how this thing works. But through homeschooling the children, as I stated before, educating them at home has allowed me to understand history in itself and education. And I actually was the one who got the educating my babies at home. But the bottom line is that we're raising them up under the admonition to love the Lord. That's bottom line. And to be servants first. That's exactly what we preach at home, is that above all, if you can't be a servant, then you might as well just hang it up, right? So the first job you will ever have is just to serve. And so that's exactly what we tell our children, is to always be available to serve, and always willing to just give a helping hand. And that's why Jesus washed the disciples' feet, right?
And also, one thing that we don't have the time to get into is to tell our stories, because we didn't come from perfect homes to teach and share. So we learned this, what we're trying to do. But one thing that we want to make sure we instill into our children, especially our daughters, is their worth, their value, and our sons, how to respect women, the females, and also everybody in general, but especially females. And in our society today, and this, I was debating, should I say this, but in our society today, it is easy, the value that people see themselves in is easier to go out and talk, for a man to go and talk a woman out of her body and not see her again, than it is for him to go and say, I'm gonna talk her out of $100. That's just crazy. She should value herself more than money. It's just a loss of value that they don't see in themselves. And that's just driving the black culture down, because there's no fathers in the home. There's no fathers raising their children and pouring and instilling every day, not once a week or once a month or on the weekend. I mean, every day, putting them to bed, waking them up. My daughters, if I have to work over at night, they calling me and checking, because they used to me being there with them when they go to bed at night. And so that's something that's very important, is to teach them the value.
Well, it's funny that you say that. Like you stated before, we didn't come from the best family background. My husband, if you all are familiar with the Black Belt, he is from the Black Belt, which is the poorest county, congressional district within Alabama. He's raised come from a two-family home, but they were very poor. And he's an anomaly. I look at my husband as being an anomaly, coming from a family that didn't have much, but he made the decision and the choice to step out of poverty and wanted something from life, and pushed himself to acquire a career in being an electrician. And so he's successful at what he does, but it was the drive. I guess poverty was the drive to get you out of your situation. And in my situation, you know, I grew up in a family, like I told you. My mom was a heroin addict, and I didn't know my dad. I just met my dad 3 years ago. He was in prison for close to 30 years. And I just met my father. And so, you know, we just made that decision where we didn't want to be stuck in a generational curse, breaking the chains of generational curses by making a decision to step outside of that and to really understand what family was. You know, to be a blessing in this generation, and it starts with us. It starts within our home, and we wanted to add to it. We wanted to add some value to this world as believers, and so this is the legacy. I mean, I look at it that our legacy will continue to move on. Right now, we're building generational wealth, passing it on to our children. That we had to truly understand how that works as well, and so. This is what we have. I want to first thank my family for coming out to the panel today. And my husband for making himself available to be here as well.
Yeah, it's good to be here. I learned a lot, shared, and heard a lot of different visions and ways of seeing things, and a lot of good advice been shared out here. And one thing I'd like to give a shout out to our church, because their vision, when we talk about family here, is changing families that change the world. And that's what I hope that we get with Urban Game Changers, is to get people to change the families that will change their community, which just roll until America is changed in that area.
Well, thank you guys. I just want to once again introduce my family, the Taylor family, and thank you for having us.
How do they find you?
You can find us in, we are actually in a small town called Adamsville. We have a Facebook page called Adamsville Association. You can follow us there. We're doing things within our community, building up our community right now as we speak. I'm sorry? Well, I am considering running for a political seat within my community. I'm still weighing out my options, but because I understand the value in changing my community and bringing value within my community, I am considering running for a seat right where I live at, and really is to push the next generation over to actually step into that realm and changing their own community, step into leadership positions and educating the next generation and giving them ways to step in, opening the doors for the next generation to come to basically be a voice in their community. So this is what I plan to do, and if you would like to continue to follow me, my page is Adamsville Association, and you can also find me at Urban Game Changers in Alabama. Thank you all, and
Can I say something?
Yes, you may.
I know my parents are great because my mom knows me well, because when I was 3 years old, Mommy took a picture of me, and then I had a sad face because she knows I always smile, and then I had a sad face and she looked at the picture and knew something was wrong, and then she would hurry to the hospital to see what's wrong. They said my appendicitis popped.
Appendix.
Yeah, and then it popped and they said I could die because I was really sick. And then a lot of people came to the hospital, started praying, and then it stopped, and then I lived.
So we would thank you, Samantha, for sharing that with the people. I knew that was really brave. Testing 1, 2. I knew that that was a brave thing for you to say. And yes, we're really, you're our miracle child. You made it through. I mean, a 1-year-old child making it through an appendicitis. I know that you were destined for greatness, and this is why we truck on, we keep going every day just for our children, because we know that you were fearfully and wonderfully made to change this world. So we love you, baby. Thank you for that. Until next time, guys, we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
So you can see it. This is what we'll be at Saturday at the commemoration. We have a booth there. We're going to be doing live battles. So if you want to be part of the live battles, make sure that you follow and go to the first landing, first African landing, I think .com or .org. You go to urbangamechangers.com, you'll be able to see it. So we will be there, and we will be having these live battles. We'll have ADOS's t-shirts for sale. These are limited edition commemoration shirts commemorating the 400 years of African American descendants of slaves. So we're about to do a wrap up. We've been here all day. We've been here all week. And those who've been watching, thank you for your support and your love. It really means a lot to me and my family, Urban Game Changers family, my blood family. And for those who could not be here, don't be mad. We're going to try to do this again in the future. I just got a recap from this one. Thank you to all the donors, the dollars, the money that has come forth, and the money that continues to come back, because this does cost money. You can see we did not do a cheap production. We were trying to do a cause with a curtain hanging up. We were trying to do it so that it was professional and polished with a great camera. So what you're seeing here is a live feed from our computers, but we do have professional photographers and videographers, and in the future you'll be able to see that version on as well. So thank you so much. I see Teresa's on board, and I thank you for Goldie, who's been following us from the beginning. I thank you so much for that, and all the other ones on my page. And if you didn't miss the beginning of this, you can go to Urban Game Changers of California. It's where the live feed is right now. You can do watch parties and rewatch the whole thing. Have it playing in the background, cleaning or working or whatever. And here's some amazing speakers from Key West to Anthony Brian Logan, to Ani from Advantage, who was our keynote speaker. Multi-million-dollar keynote speaker came and gave us his time. That really meant a lot to a lot of us here. So let's wrap it up, and thank you for watching.
Thank you all here to talk about love and embrace and right.
What did you say?
I ain't saying nothing. Why your shirt paint? Wrong.
What was your problem? Somebody took my shirt. What? I had two shirts. By somebody. And then the other shirt, somebody got their shirt.
I'm a king. I go in the suburbs, I'm like, what you doing around this part of town? Where are you from? Where are you from? This is my hood. She's from Alabama. I always beat now. Yeah, to support the black people. And some black myself, hoping that the black community would rise up. I was very pleased when it turned into a black man.
Alabama. Really? And he used to do sports and it was on one of the TV news channels.
So he knows we're number one.
He knows. He knows. That's why he keeps his name Alabama. No. Everybody calls him Alabama.
That's right.
That's what you call him. Alabama. That's right.
Three next person.
Does he?
All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. We're T West High
Consistent between everybody. We're just here to talk about black products.
Dress you up.
I'm here. This. No, I did not. I think people would sit here and react with more negative mindset. When a white person comes to the hood, I tell them, what you doing around these parts?
What you doing around here in these parts, boy? Young fella ain't gonna work around here, you'll get shot.
Yeah.
You gonna get shot? You gonna sit right here and get shot?
There'll be a drive-by, I tell you. Better watch out in these parts.
Drive-by. Some people go to the drive-through, I go to the drive-by.
Get white boy.
But there's still some here.
Three, two, one.
So Tracy, we got
We gotta wait, we're not ready, Chris.
Trace is not here.
I'm trying to do music. Go on, but I'm trying to
Wake me up. Wake me up in time. I can't wake up. Save me.
Like something like you were saying live.
Yes. Senior.
Before we say goodbye.
Black people here. It's ready to go.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Well, we've come to the end and the close of the Urban Game Changers Conference here at the Hub. We want to thank the family of Hub 757 for having us and hosting our event. Thank you guys so much. You've been so supportive and loving towards us, and giving us this facility has been wonderful to be here. We've all learned a lot. particular in California. So I'm asking you and pleading you to put better leaders and advisors in your midst when it comes to 2016 and 2020. Because in 2020, I would like to see this presidency consider to put better black leadership in the fold. Darrell Scott has done nothing but talk about himself, and ministers continue to have the voices at the table for the people, but the grassroots and boots on the ground people that you saw this week at this conference still have not gotten full access to the White House the way that we believe should be given. And why should we be given a seat at the table? Because everybody else has. It is one thing to sit at the table. It is another thing to walk away with something from it, from its point of execution. And the black and African Americans and those who claim to represent us, like Omarosa, and many who have come along and had a chance to speak before the president, these celebrities, these entertainers, and who have gotten what they wanted, Steve Harvey, Kanye West, all of these people who have had the voice and ear of the president have failed us. And the reason you failed is because you only affect your own personal pocketbooks. There are black people dying in Chicago, Detroit, Los Angeles, New York, Miami, Florida, everywhere in the states and cities around this country that are not being addressed. Health and sanitation and housing that's not being addressed. The word minority being abused. The infrastructure of law and bills and grants that were established to deal with the indigenous children of slaves, such for ourselves, are now going towards immigration. The laws, as you stated, Mr. Trump, regarding immigration are wrong. They need to be corrected. And many people come to me and say, Shirley, why do you keep tackling immigration? Because the immigrants in California are the ones abusing the laws by hiring illegal immigrants, paying them on the table, and not cutting checks paid to the federal government or the states. There's abuse of infrastructural laws, and there's abuse of remittance of money that leaves this country to build other countries. Ronald Reagan made a mistake. Giving amnesty and freedom to people who came here and abused our system did not help a future generation. It displaced a nation of people. And those nations of people were African American descendants of slaves. Now in Los Angeles, we have 80 to 90% of the people homeless downtown Los Angeles, and no one seems to care. You go to schools, you go to markets, you go over to Starbucks and get your coffees, but yet you step over people as if they're unworthy, as if they're subhuman. So this message is to the President of the United States and anyone affiliated with the White House to say, you need to step aside and let real people have that voice. You need to step aside and stop playing that you're just a pundit and a commentator that wants to look good and get a chicken dinner and wear a hat and take a picture. We don't want any more picture-taking Negroes with the president. We want the president to have a sit-down conversation in a manner of legislation and rights for a better nation of people. Mr. Trump, you sat down in January of 2017 with the CBC, the Congressional Black Caucus. You were misled by a witch named Omarosa. And that witch set you down with her tribe, a tribe that never planned to work with you, a tribe of people we don't even want to claim to be part of us, whose focus and agenda is not about African American descendants of slaves. The Congressional Black Caucus is not about black people. It's about illegal immigrants and immigrants, giving them the empowerment to pocket their resources. 40 to 30 to 25 years plus of legislators who've been put in office who've done nothing for a nation of people, who say they represent us. But how can you work with people who said they work with us, and then their legislation who say, oh, well, I represent the people of my community? Well, then do that, but don't claim to be ADOS. Don't claim to say you represent ADOS. Because African American descendants of slaves have the right to the table. They have the voice at the table, and they should be able to make changes for their own people. But this is the real truth, Mr. President. I want you to understand, the only reason they need us is to be able to ride for themselves. The only reason the African Americans who don't want to support real black people, who support the gay and lesbian and transgender movement, who support the illegal immigrants only for themselves, they want to check for them and the underground wealth that they're developing. We know that there's a nation of Americans who have descendants of slaves who are suffering right now. And it takes more than money. It takes more than food. It takes more than housing. We need long-term legislation put in place so that when this face that you see before you is no longer in this country, that my children's children's children will know that we made an effort to reach to this administration and cry out to you to help our people. It's a shame that the commemoration of the African-American descendants of slaves got no funding, and that is the fault of the White House and the administration of President Trump, that you misled this president to sign a piece of legislation of commemoration with no money allocated for funding. And so the National Parks and Recs now are putting on an event, and God is angry, and his people are angry, because we've been The African American descendants of slaves need to rise, and you need to vote candidates that make difference. Do not vote for candidates that are not ADOS. If you're in black urban communities and you decide to vote a person of color of my diaspora, do me a favor. Ask them if they're a descendant of slaves, because if they're an immigrant, don't vote for them. And I'm going to tell you that's my biased opinion. I have the right to it. And I believe everybody in this panel will support what I'm saying. Because we've found out that when you have other people of other diasporas, like you can say in Omar, and when you have Cortez and all these other people that are now controlling the Democrat Party with their narratives, Mr. Trump, you were absolutely correct. If you're not happy about living here, then go back to where you came from. Because we are from here. We can't go back nowhere. We've been here 400 years. 400 years our people are hurting. But yet you want me to focus on Muslims. You want me to focus on Omar. You want me to focus on Cortez and all these liberal progressive women and women who hate men. And yet we are stepped over with our issues. We want to have a voice at the table. We want to sit down and show you our proposals with our leaders of legislation to talk about our reparations, which will probably come in the form of an executive order. And for those who get jealous and mad, before you cut your throat and talk to me, I want you to do your homework and tell me, why should I not get it when the Jews got Jerusalem? Why should I not get it when you allow the Mexicans to get $125 billion under Obama? None of y'all say nothing. And Mexicans in Los Angeles who don't respect American people, who won't even hire black children or white children. They only hire their own, and they hide under the fact that we don't speak Spanish. Well, this is the United States of America, a state we're not united as one nation of people. And if we're going to allow other people to come into this country and to pull the rug from underneath us, what do we have left? The colonist movement is done. There are no more colonists. What we have is a nation of the UN trying to take over America and make it a one world order. Now, unless you wake up to that fact, Mr. President, the people around you are lying to you. They're lying. The black people around you are about themselves. The black leaders of the witches of the past have shown themselves. But the children of God are rising. They're praying for you. And we pray that you sit down with people who have common sense, that will work through you, who will work through your Twitters and work through your postings and your understanding and your disunderstanding, and your woes and your foes and your pluses. But the disorders and all these people who want to ride on our backs, who sit back and think they have the privilege to represent us, you don't. You're an Indian man, stay in your lane. You're an Indian man who studied black history and give it from your interpretation and your perspective. Good for you. I applaud you. Now step aside. Black people can speak for themselves. We do not need Indians to speak for us. We don't need white people to speak for us. We speak for ourselves. We stand for ourselves. And we want to work together with other cultures and people. But we will not let you disrespect us and act as if we are subhuman and that our voices don't have value or validated. So I will ask Mr. President, out of goodness in my heart, for the future of my children and my grandchildren and my extended family that sits here before you. We are hurting in this country. And I find it sad and I find it appalling that the wrong people get to speak to you. And Darrell Scott, you should be ashamed of yourself. You ain't doing nothing for black people. You just happen to have a chicken dinner and get it before the President of the United States. And everything associated with you. You've had your 2 to 4 years or however long you had with your friend. I don't need the friend. I need the president to represent a nation of people, to hear the voices from the people on the ground. We are boots on the ground. We're not just pundits and commentating who take a lot of pictures and likes and look pretty. We are boots on the ground trying to make changes and differences in this country. I put my life on the line for you, Mr. Trump. When other people didn't believe in you, didn't believe in your voice, I did in 2015. I did in 2016. Many of us got our cars repossessed, our gas and our lights bills turned off. People are suffering in California. The delegates in California are suffering. But where were the leaders? Where were the leaders that after you got in would have had a chance to talk to you at the table? There were up about 17 to 17 delegates to share it, copy it, paste it, repost it, and let them know that the ADOS is not a fad, it's not a trend, it's not a racist, we're not the Klansmen, we're not Black Panthers. We are a lineage of people that have been here since its conception of America, before the Reconstruction of America, before the Revolutionary War. And I say this with passion. I respect everybody that watches this. I'm not asking you to like me. I don't want to be your friend. What I want you to be is a person of reason and of sound mind, and to do your homework, and to share and have discussions, and allow our voice to be a voice for us. I want to thank each one of the panelists that have been here today. I want to thank all of you. Kenneth Hussar, young activist, Tammy Taylor, Douglas Hussar, and Big Man T. West, because each one of these people add value to the table. And the guests who came earlier, I want to thank them, and I'm going to give each one of these people a voice to say something, and I'll say good night.
Well, Shirley, wow. Okay, well, T. West, I will close by saying this, that 2 days ago, it was 400 years since the first African was brought here to this country, into this particular state. And that is the significance of having this event here in this state of Virginia, because it was history then, and this is history now. And people from this day on in the future, they will see this as being a day of future. It covered lots of areas. Family, oh, that was beautiful. Alabama family, Black family, real family, beautiful. Young men, millennial men, okay, standing up, showing your strength. That's good. That's good to see. And it says that we are leaving things in the hands of capable, growing young men, young women who can take things forward. Now, I would also like to say this, that 3 years ago, in this month, the significance of this month, August, I did a program, and I said, why Trump would be your next president. I stated exactly why he would be your next president, even before he knew he was going to be your next president. But what I'm saying, the message in that is this: there's a divine wind that is blowing. And even with this reparations, with this term ADOS, that is a part of the divine wind that is blowing. One of the last programs on the Afro-Synergy News Channel was Puppet and Puppet Master. And you all know what the Puppet Master does. He controls the strings. And the Puppet Master is a divine power that brings about certain things that happen. And we get rattled about situations and circumstances, but in due time, there's a time and a season for all things, and this is a time and a season when some great things are about to happen, some things that are going to shock you, just as 3 years ago in November, the whole nation and the world was shocked when they found out that Hillary was not going to be president, but I already knew that. Just like I already know that we're going to get reparations. But it requires a plan. It requires a toning down of the emotions. You only use the emotions for energy to push your thoughts forward. That's creative and that's constructive emotion. So, and I say to my dear sister Shirley, you're just a ball of dynamite, a ball of dynamite. And that's good, because all of that is needed, because you know what Frederick Douglass said: agitate, agitate, agitate. And you know what you are? You're an agitator. That's exactly what you are. And I like that. I love that about my dear sister, because you need all of that. You need the agitators. You need the ones who are going to throw the rocks. And then when they come out of that house, be it the White House or whatever house it is, the others are out there waiting, says, now you ready to talk? Let's talk. So that's very good. You need that variety. You need all of that as a part of it. So continue doing what you're doing, my dear sister.
Thank you so much, T. West. I'm gonna actually bring it down because I feel like for most of this conference, guys, I've been very up, and I did want to try and raise some awareness through the vision that you were seeing on screen to make sure you guys were paying attention, to make sure you're awake. This is our closer, and I do want to get a little serious with you. We're in Virginia today. It's raining. You can probably hear it through the audio, and we're in a church. If there's anything I'm feeling right now, it's that I'm feeling humble. I'm in a room with such beautiful African Americans. Some are married, some are young, some are old. And in my community as I grew up, it just became scarcer and scarcer and scarcer. And just a moment ago, I was talking to T. West here about our hair and our skin tone, and he knows about, I'm not gonna bring that up because it was a little serious, but it was very serious for me, and I didn't have anyone to talk to about that subject matter. So to see this community come together in a way that's trying to push forward and bring something for the next generation, I think is something so beautiful and something so important, and I ask you to go ahead and share it with your friends and your family, and to feel our love, and if you're in our community, feel that we're with you, feel that we exist with you in this world. You can always reach out to us on social media. And if you're not directly social to our community, you're still family. You're our extended family. You're out there loving the show, loving our content, and loving us. To all of our donors, to everyone that watches, thank you so much. It's just humility. And one more tip for you guys. We are really out here trying to work really hard, putting our boots down. All of us here are sacrificing our time. I know I was just speaking to Tammy's husband, and he said, this is not our vacation, but we sure to take time out of our work. This is not our vacation, but we sure did pull our school kids out of all the things that they were learning at the time. And for myself, I'm here literally up there running the sound. As I'm sitting here, I'm running my own sound because we are a team working together trying to make something happen, as well as running an e-commerce business as I'm running this entire program with you guys. And I know that all of us are here to not just make money, but to make a change in the future. It's not about the money that's coming in right now. It's about the vision that we have for the future, and that's what this program is about. And if you see that, if you feel that, if you realize that we're literally in a church doing a convention, then please do share. Please do join us on this journey. Again, my name is Douglas Hussar. Google any of us, and we'd love to talk to you guys. Hope you have a good day.
That was beautiful, Mr. Hussar. I do share that same word with you. I am humbled today, humbled in a moment to be around my fellow brothers and sisters here at this AGOS Urban Game Changers Conference. As I was here this weekend, I realized that many of the guest speakers we had today on this panel, they all come from different sides of the tracks. Everyone shared different ideas. Some ideas I normally wouldn't share, but at the heart of it, we all met at the same common ground and are building from that point. What's that common ground? What are we building from? We all know who we are now. African American descendants of slaves. And that's what we all can build from, whether you identify as a Republican, a conservative, a liberal, or a Democrat, or independent. There is a line there as the African American community. If you find your lineage goes back to being a descendant of a slave, we can all build from that moment on. Right now, we're in a situation where the agitators, the puppet masters, are controlling the strings, controlling the narrative to allow us to be fighting Mr. Light Skin, dark skin, black, white. We're all fighting against each other, and that's not really what it should be about. What it's about is what you see here right before you on this panel. Before you this entire week, we all come together in our own time, our own dime. Even sponsors, thank you to all the sponsors who believe in Urban Game Changers. Urban Game Changers isn't going anywhere, and neither is ADOS. Yes, I brought my entire family here. We took some time out from our busy lives to come here to be a part of something real, something that will never, ever be forgotten. I am a boots on the ground type of mom, and I am a boots on the ground type of parent. I believe in Urban Game Changers. I decided to join, to get on board, to actually be the vessel. We are chosen vessels, and God uses people. It's going to take people like us to change the entire narrative. Are you going to be part of the problem, or are you going to be part of the solution? I'm here to be a part of the solution. Whether everyone here share different views and different ideologies, at the end of the day, I am very happy that my children get to see today, this entire week, tomorrow we'll be on the grounds at Fort Monroe, where our first African ancestors were brought here as commodity. I get to share that with my children and tell the story of who we truly are, because I grew up not knowing who I was. And so I really appreciate this moment, and I sit in it and I am humbled. Shirley, I just want to let you know, I truly, truly appreciate you. It literally brings tears to my eyes to see someone who is so passionate, and I'm very happy that the Lord brought me to you, my sister. I'm very moved by the movement here. Exactly. We both share the love for our president, and that's what, we resonate that very well, but at the end of the day, there's a bigger picture here. We do want to save the preservation of our lineage, and I share that with you, and I share that with all of you on this panel. I want to let you all know that we love you, everyone out there, we love you. If you want to get on board with Urban Game Changers, find us. I'm Urban Game Changers Alabama. You can find us online, and I do thank you for your time. Thank you.
Make sure you value yourself.